Welcome to Overwatch. This time, we'll be looking at Zenyatta.
True self is without form.
In this video, we'll look at his equipment, abilities, and the playstyle Zenyatta promotes. We'll look at his role as a support and the kind of support he provides in contrast to Mercy specifically. We'll also discuss potentially strong partnerships for him briefly, before moving on to the backstory of our spiritual machine. Of all the characters in Overwatch, Zenyatta is the most delicate. He offsets this, however, by being the most indirect support in the game, something we'll cover soon. But first, let's get to grips with our ballsy machine. Zenyatta's primary means of attack is the Orb of Destruction. Zenyatta launches his orbs at targets in a steady stream, or he can charge up a large volley for a highly destructive attack. Remember that Zenyatta has very little defense of his own. If you're just pinging away at people, you'll probably lose any damage rate you have with him. Dipping out from behind cover of others, and then launching a massive barrage, however, is a great way to tear someone down. Next up is the Orb of Harmony. Zenyatta attaches a glowing orb to an ally that stays attached as long as Zenyatta remains alive, steadily healing them. While this can only work on one person at a time, it doesn't have a range limit, and will always keep healing until Zenyatta dies. We'll discuss this more when comparing Zenyatta to the other primary healer, Mercy. Finally, for normal abilities, we have the Orb of Discord. This purple sphere attaches to an enemy and increases the amount of damage they take for as long as Zenyatta is alive. Again, only on one target at a time. This is a great way to render tanks or targets getting direct healing considerably more vulnerable. Lastly, we have Zenyatta's ultimate, Transcendence. It seems in Overwatch, achieving a heightened state of existence provides healing for everyone around you and makes you immortal for a short period of time. While in this state, Zenyatta cannot do anything else, but it's important to note that Transcendence fixes armor, and by extension I wouldn't be surprised if it also restores shields. This makes it useful for all characters, rather than just favouring health-based heroes. Overall, Zenyatta is what I would term indirect support. This is in contrast to Mercy's direct support. Zenyatta can attach orbs to targets and safely stay away from the battle. In fact, this is somewhat ideal due to his low hit points. If Zenyatta dies, all his support stops. While Mercy's healing and damage amplification are faster and potentially can hurt more targets respectively, Zenyatta is the safer option. Mercy will also struggle assisting fast characters that rely on evasion, such as Tracer, or flanking characters such as Reaper. Zenyatta and Reaper are, oddly from a lore perspective, a match made in heaven. As we can see from the show match footage, Reaper's Wraith form ability makes him temporarily invulnerable, but he also heals up during this time. Slapping a sphere on Reaper makes him much harder to kill, and a hard to kill Reaper is one that gets to use Death Blossom. Expect to get a lot of use out of Zenyatta if your team is reliant on mobility. You can separate a Mercy from her pack, but doing that to Zenyatta just makes him an even bigger problem, as you have to hunt him down to stop his support. Zenyatta's ultimate, as a finisher, allows him to finally perform a dramatic direct support role. In short, Harmony on your playmakers, Discord on their key targets, and finally all come together for a strong transcendent push. So what'll make a great Zenyatta? Well, if you think in terms of key targets, you can only use your abilities on one person. Deciding whether to Harmony a Reaper or a Reinhardt is up to you, and deciding whether or not to change who receives that is too. Just don't be surprised if you decide to change who receives that healing and the poor guy who just lost his lovely reliable heal over time gets a little bit grumpy. You know how to dodge and weave. You're squishy, horrendously squishy. Most of you is shields, which just supports that ducking in and out of safety. And if you die, again, the person across the map is reliant on your heal and he'll suddenly lose it. The most direct battle you should be seeing is ducking out to beat someone to death with a barrage of balls. If you can manage a widespread strategy, Zenyatta, more than any of the other supports, needs to be considering everyone's role and position. He'll also be the one to decide when to opt for a huge push. Transcendence is the time you drag everyone together and really ruin people's day. It's also a fantastic way of turning the tide of a crumbling defense. Also, do remember that you're invulnerable while it's up, so don't be afraid to take a few bullets for your allies. And that you like a unique aesthetic. Blizzard do love their huge big necklaces, but this is probably the most unique iteration we've seen. A spiritual robot is a fascinating idea, and Zenyatta certainly stands out from the group as being most oddball. Or odd orbs. Ho. So, what makes a robot decide it has a soul? Let's find out. Zenyatta comes from a group of omnic robots who are outcasted from the main group who experienced a spiritual awakening. Moving away from their pre-programmed nature, they isolated themselves in the Himalayas, meditating and considering what it means to simply be. Over time, and through self-reflection, they came to believe that they carried a soul, and that there was more to their lives than simple nuts and bolts and code. In short, they were more than the sum of their parts. These Omnic monks, led by, and forgive my pronunciation, Tekhatha Mondata, a figure we currently know nothing about, became global healers and spread the word of their discoveries, gaining global fame. This new celebrity status and direct teaching did not sit right with Zenyatta, who believed that enlightenment could only come through interpersonal communication, engaging with individuals and gaining understanding. Ultimately, Zenyatta moved on, going on a pilgrimage across the world and changing the lives of individuals and fighting to protect the innocent, man or machine. So where does all this fit into the bigger picture? Well, every setting could use a spiritual core, and Zenyatta's very nature fascinates anyone interested in metaphysics. The discussion of whether or not artificial intelligence could bear something like a soul is far, far beyond the scope of a short 6 or 7 minute video, but the recent hit game The Talos Principle demonstrates that people are certainly interested in the subject. Zenyatta, ultimately, is a healer of the spirit, not of the flesh, like Mercy. He could be a great guide to anyone lost inside, such as Bastion, or perhaps even someone like Widowmaker, if he doesn't just blow his head off. On the opposite side of the notion of introspective machinery, we have Purebjorn, who we'll discuss next time. Thanks for watching to the end. I am but one channel amongst many, and I hope you learned a little about Zenyatta. If you enjoyed the video, you know what to do, like, subscribe, all that fluff. I enjoy reading your discussions and opinions, so feel free to comment if you agree or disagree with anything. Special thanks go to those of you who already are. Toodles!